if I told you that the beloved celebrations of Christmas and Easter trace back to ancient pagan rites, hiding secrets far older than Christianity itself? Imagine discovering a spiritual lineage embedded within these traditions, connecting you to timeless wisdom that has been waiting to be revealed. Stay with me as we unravel the surprising links between what was originally four great pagan festivals: Halloween, the Fire Festival, and the familiar Christian celebrations of Christmas and Easter. By the end, you'll not only see the Bible in a new light, but also unlock a universal spiritual journey, one that connects us all, revealing truths that have been veiled through time. Section 1. Reframing the four cardinal festivals as stages of the soul's journey. What if the holidays you grew up celebrating have hidden layers? A wisdom that connects you to something far older and more universal than what you were told. Imagine if Christmas and Easter held deeper secrets, a path to understanding life itself, hidden within traditions now used to reinforce a specific narrative. What if these festivals were more than commemorations? What if they charted the soul's ancient journey through creation, growth, transformation, and rebirth? For the ancients, the sun wasn't just a celestial body. It was a metaphor for the Creator's fire, the will and intellect that sparked all life in the universe. This fire was seen as the foundation of all existence, and its story, told through symbols and teachings, was preserved across cultures. In ancient Egypt, this fire was represented by gods like Ra, and later, Greek thinkers like Plato distilled these ideas into what became known as Platonic theosophy, a philosophical framework connecting each of us to a universal fire of creation. These teachings, with roots predating Christianity, spread across the ancient world. And as you look into these ancient systems, you'll discover a story that repeats, a story of life, death, and rebirth, told through figures we come to know as ancient mythological gods. Christianity teaches that Jesus' story is unique, a one-time revelation. But around the world, myths of dying and resurrecting gods, from Osiris in Egypt to Krishna in India and Dionysus in Greece, tell a similar tale. Could it be that early Christian leaders reshaped existing narratives to fit their message? Jesus and other world saviors follow a familiar template. As Christianity evolved, it reinterpreted certain aspects of this template to tell a specific story of a miracle man unique in all of history. Here, we'll dive into the original meanings behind these ancient teachings, not to dismiss, but to restore a deeper understanding that connects these stories to the universal human experience beyond the demands of any single dogma. Ancient mythology. One can recognize the distilled Egypto-Platonic narrative in ancient mythology. However, ancient mythology is different than our modern definition of stories that are not true. Most of the myths have a deeper meaning, personifying the laws of nature and the universe. They were more like secret formulas. Today, we often mistake the myth for the message that may sometimes seem nonsensical. But they were a method of teaching employed by ancient sages to express universal truths that can be difficult to express linguistically. This is how the many stories of the ancient gods can be so similar. The differences can oftentimes be attributed to cultural and geographical nuances. Within these myths, the soul's journey was mirrored in the universal laws and principles of the cycles of the seasons. Through the Platonic template, you will begin to see the same basic philosophical functions that personify and explain the functions of the universe and nature. And humankind is the ultimate extension and expression of these divine or universal functions. The Platonic template. First, we find the One as the fire and first cause of all. This cosmic fire, representing the Creator's life force. This life force descends through nature and goes through four stages. The first stage is emanation, as the divine fire is infused and is a part of the universe and all of nature. All the universe is unified through this spark. Nature is it, and it is nature. The next is incarnation, where this fire that is, the intellect of the all, is often personified as a type of messenger that becomes a translator between heaven and earth. Next is dismemberment. It breaks divine unity into fragments that become different aspects of the psyche of the messenger. The number 12 becomes prominent in representing this idea of the fragmented fire. Next, reminiscence is to consciously reawaken to the forgotten memories of our divine origin. It's also known as the resurrection. Each of the 4 great seasonal festivals mark these stages of the soul's journey towards self-realization. They're not just celebrations, but symbols of a process embedded within us all. A cyclical journey from creation to transformation and rebirth. Unlike what Christianity often presents as a unique miracle, these ancient teachings portray resurrection as an essential stage of the universal journey experienced by every soul. Many people today think that ancient cultures like Egypt simply worship the sun. But the truth is, their understanding was far more profound. To them, the sun represented the life-giving force of creation and the divine spark in every soul. Its journey through the sky mirrored the soul's journey through life, rising in strength, descending into darkness, and then returning in rebirth. This daily and seasonal cycle symbolizes the path each soul takes, from its bright emergence to its descent into earthly challenges, and finally to its triumphant return to its true nature. Worship as a modern concept, not ancient. The ancients didn't worship the sun as so many believe. Worship is based on the idea God is an external personality. The ancients honored the sun as a metaphor for the life force of all creation, which is an aspect of their own being and spiritual journey. They didn't see themselves as separate from nature. For them, physical nature was all symbolic of a broader metaphysical essence from which it arose. All of nature was a part of them. Every element of the unified universe was accessible within them, reflecting their role as its ultimate expression of this unity on the earthly plane. Differentiating between our modern idea of worshiping an external God is of profound importance in grasping why they were not sun worshippers. Our modern religious idea is to cultivate a relationship with an external God. For the ancient Egyptians and other cultures, the journey was about recognizing the aspect of the divine that is within us. Their name for that aspect was the Ka. We call it the soul, which is that spark of divinity within all of us. By observing the natural cycles of the sun, they connected with the life force that sustains both the cosmos and the individual soul. In these rhythms, they found reminders of the shared journey of all life, one that moves through creation, growth, struggle, and ultimate transformation. A journey that anyone questioning their beliefs can reclaim as a source of empowerment and deeper understanding. Greek philosopher Plotinus offers insight into how the ancients viewed the soul's journey and why a soul wants to incarnate. He wrote, quote, "Despite originating from the divine realm of pure forms, the soul chooses to enter a physical body to actualize its potential and beautify the physical world." End quote. This choice is central to understanding the soul's journey as seen by the ancient Egyptians and many other ancient cultures. The sun as a metaphor. For the ancients, the sun symbolized this journey of the soul. They believed that everything in nature and the cosmos, including their own lives, was interconnected. A Hermetic principle known as correspondence, or as above so below, expressed this ancient philosophy. In Egyptian mythology, this journey was embodied by Ra, the life force representing creation, resilience, and by a unified extension, the journey of the soul. The sun as a metaphor for Ra made a daily journey across the sky, followed by his descent into the underworld each night. It became a foundational metaphor of Egyptian spiritual beliefs that influenced many ancient cultures in the ancient world. Egypt was the Holy Land in the ancient world. The journey of Ra's bark through 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night symbolized the balance of light and darkness, a balance every individual undergoes in its quest for understanding and wisdom. The ancients weren't worshiping the sun as an external god. Rather, They saw in the sun a powerful symbol of their own spiritual path. To them, the sun's cycles and the soul are interconnected aspects of nature. By observing the sun's journey, they honored a universal force and found a mirror for the soul's journey through creation, growth, descent, and rebirth. The four cardinal festivals. The four cardinal festivals, known today as Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and the Fire Festival, each commemorate a different stage in this journey of the sun and soul. As the sun's path unfolded above, it reflected the spark of life within each of us below. Ancient agricultural-based cultures honored the solstices and equinoxes as more than seasonal markers. They saw them as gateways to transformation. They believed the veil between the physical world and the metaphysical world was thinnest at these points. These points in the solar cycle served as windows into the soul's passage from birth to rebirth, a cosmic story embedded in the rhythms of nature itself in which they saw themselves connected to. This knowledge, far from being exclusive to any one religion, represents a shared human heritage as ancient as humanity itself. Today, let's peel back these layers of mythology and symbolism to explore how these festivals reveal the soul's journey. Christianity, far from being separate and having ancient Egyptian theosophy within its heritage, has also carried forward this universal story of the divine creator's fire. Are you ready to see these holidays and yourself in a new light? As we journey through these ancient festivals, you'll begin to see them not just as holidays, but as metaphors for your unfolding journey as a soul having a human experience, as stages of awakening, growth, transformation, and rebirth. To help make sense of it all, we'll start with familiar language, but shift these ideas back to their original meanings that existed long before Christianity redefined many of them. In doing so, we may uncover how these changes subtly obscured universal truths that were once accessible to all of humanity. A myth-busting moment. Moving beyond literalism. As we delve deeper into this journey, let's set aside the literal interpretations and explore what these festivals have long symbolized. While many modern holidays are seen as historical celebrations, ancient wisdom reminds us that they're much more than that. The aim here isn't to enforce a new belief system, but to help you uncover knowledge that may clarify and soften the psychological transition as you question, reframe, and move beyond past religious teachings and dogmas. For many of us, the path of deconstructing religion comes with the desire to replace inherited dogmas with a deeper, more personal understanding. This journey is an invitation to reclaim your spiritual exploration on your own terms, rooted in knowledge, not coerced acceptance of doctrine and blind faith. So as we continue, consider these ancient teachings not as a replacement, but as a lens through which to explore, understand, and ultimately find a new sense of connection and meaning on your own journey. Let's get going. Section 2, Autumn Equinox, the soul's descent into material life. Imagine for a moment that life doesn't begin with birth, but with a choice, the soul's choice to descend into the physical world. This is actually the ancient world's perspective. Our life didn't begin in the physical. Our true essence as a soul is the real being. This is another important distinction between ancient philosophy and modern thought about the mythology. The soul's journey is the primary character in the stories, not the physical being. Using a modern analogy to explain the ancients' way of thinking, a physical life is like the soul being in a simulation. As souls, life is the simulation that we project our consciousness into for experience and learning. Life as an illusion. This simulation idea is where we get the ancients saying that life is an illusion. They were not saying that what we experience as life is not real. What they were expressing is that the illusion is we are powerless inside the simulation. In ancient wisdom, particularly in ancient Egyptian teachings, the sun at the autumn equinox symbolizes the soul's descent into the earth plane, the simulation. Again, just a modern analogy to understand the ancient concept. not to diminish our life experience. This autumn season marks the soul's departure from the spiritual realm as it crosses the threshold into the material world, willingly embracing the difficulties and challenges of physical existence. Autumn represents the soul's symbolic death, a conscious sacrifice of its own boundless and omnipotent awareness to merge with the human form. The cross as the soul's sacrifice, beyond suffering. In Christian tradition, the cross often symbolizes suffering and sacrifice, specifically tied to Jesus' crucifixion. However, this is a simplified view of a much older metaphor with profound esoteric roots. While Christianity interprets the cross as a symbol of death, ancient Egyptian culture saw it as a process of incarnation and a deeper mystery within the soul's journey. In this ancient context, the cross embodies the soul's intentional choice to project from the spiritual realm into the physical. For the Egyptians, the autumn equinox was where the soul and matter meet, a crucifixion symbolizing not suffering, but the soul's total immersion in the physical experience, merging divine consciousness with the earthly animalistic instincts. The cross also has layers of meaning in numerology and astrology, where it aligns with universal laws of nature and existence. Its 4 points correspond to the elements of fire, air, water, and earth, the components necessary for the soul to cross into material form. The number 5, represented by Jesus nailed on the cross in the Bible story, signifies a manifestation of physical life, representing the soul taking form within the tangible world. Every living being is metaphorically nailed to that same cross. It's a natural function of incarnating on earth. This journey is not merely a crucifixion. It's the soul's willing sacrifice in order to experience life in duality, a descent that binds it temporarily to the physical form, where it grows through human experience and cycles of challenge, learning, and enlightenment. Ancient people marked September 21st, when light and dark are equal, as a symbol of this balancing act. From this point, the nights get longer each successive day until the winter solstice, where the sun halts for 3 days and the days begin to get longer, beginning on December 25th. The sun's journey becomes a metaphor for the soul's journey and other human experience. The cross becomes part of ancient spiritual science and how the soul pierces the veil between the metaphysical and physical life. Section 3. Halloween, the first great festival. Because it starts with our birth in the human journey, I start with Halloween as the first great festival. But in ancient times, springtime is the birth of the soul into the metaphysical world. This descent into the physical world is a shock to the soul. Therefore, it involves a preparation period. From September 21st to October 31st, 40 days pass, a phase symbolizing the soul's transition deeper into darkness and earthly life. Halloween, celebrated on October 31st, marks the threshold, the eve before the soul's full immersion. In ancient symbolism, this 40-day period is seen as an incubation phase. The 40 was a symbolic interval for new life to gestate within the material realm, a metaphor for the soul's preparation to awaken within physical life. In earlier traditions, Halloween wasn't viewed as a festival of fear or darkness, but rather a symbolic night of readiness, a ritual marking the soul's upcoming journey into human form. Later, Christianity rebranded Halloween as a devilish celebration, obscuring its original meaning. It became known as the Eve of All Saints' Day, a time to honor souls who have completed their earthly journeys. All Saints' Day, observed on November 1st, originally commemorated the completion of the prep stage of the soul's journey. The soul was now prepared for what it was about to go through as it plunged deeper into the dark night of the soul. So as we explore these cycles, remember, they are not distant myths. They map a universal journey shared by all souls, with each season symbolizing our own stage of growth, challenge, and renewal. Autumn invites us to honor this descent, a sacred path through which we gain the wisdom, resilience, and divine awareness that ultimately lead to the spiritual awakening. Have you ever thought about yourself as projecting into a simulation? Have you ever considered why the ancient worlds say life is an illusion? Do these two ideas cause you to feel like your life experience is being diminished? If you could control the simulation, what would you do differently with your life? The ancient connection and meaning of masks on Halloween. Each Halloween, people wear masks and costumes, stepping into different characters for the night. But what if Halloween represents something deeper? In the journey of the soul, Halloween marks the soul's full entry into material life, symbolized by 40 days after the autumn equinox. Just as we put on costumes, the souls take on earthly masks when it descends into physical form. This mask is a persona, the unique identity the soul adopts to navigate the material world. Like Halloween costumes, the persona is temporary, a role that shapes our experiences and offers lessons. Egyptian teachings describe the soul as having layers, the eternal essence and the temporary identity it wears in each life. This earthly mask, like a costume, is not the soul's true nature, but a persona that allows it to experience life in a specific way. Another analogy to consider here is the idea that the soul is like a movie actor, playing different roles in many movies. For ancient Egyptians, souls as eternal beings can be reincarnated many times, like a movie actor playing many different roles and wearing many different masks. At Halloween, the costumes remind us of the temporary roles we play, and similarly, our earthly identities are just masks that will one day be set aside. Beneath this mask lies the timeless soul, untouched by the roles we assume. When we see our earthly identity as just one layer, we free ourselves from over-identifying with temporary roles and open a connection to the essence beneath, the eternal part of us. For those who have been questioning traditional beliefs, Halloween offers a different perspective. Instead of fearing the darker parts of ourselves, we're empowered to integrate them. Halloween encourages us to face our shadow aspects, which often carry lessons and growth. Just as the mask can be removed, these shadows can be integrated, freeing us from psychological burdens and allowing healing and transformation. Seen this way, Halloween is more than costumes and fun. It's a symbolic invitation to remember that our earthly identity is also a mask that we can learn to recognize and integrate through understanding and wisdom. Who is your authentic self beyond the mask? How might your life change if you connected more deeply with the eternal essence within? How do you know when you are connecting with the eternal essence? What would life be like to live unapologetically you? Hey, if you're enjoying this video and finding value in it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. The Egyptian connection to Jesus, Osiris and Horus. In Egyptian teachings, this 40-day period symbolizes the soul's journey from spirit into matter, as represented by Osiris, god of the underworld. The underworld is Earth. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Osiris represents the soul's dormant state on the earth plane, symbolizing a person with limited awareness of its higher self. Notice that he's a mummy with one leg, but his hands are curiously left free. It's clues to deeper esoteric knowledge. In Egyptian myth, Osiris remains unaware until awakened by Horus, the son of God, who represents the inner spark that lifts the individual from darkness or lack of awareness. Horus was known as the revealer, the light of the world who healed the blind. This is mirrored in the biblical story of Jesus and Lazarus, where Lazarus is awakened by the light of Christ. Here, the individual moves from awareness to awakening, bringing forward its divine potential. The Egyptian story of Horus awakening Osiris is a metaphor for each of us. Like Osiris, the human being begins its earthly journey unaware of its own light. But within each of us lies the potential for awakening. This journey isn't about worshiping an external savior, but recognizing that the divine spark of awakening exists within us. Reflecting on the 40 days invites us to honor these moments of preparation and transition in our lives. Sometimes it can seem like we're in the wilderness of life and wandering around without a compass, not knowing what direction or our purpose. This mental state is emblematic of going through the 40-day-like stage within certain points of our life. But whether beginning a new chapter or undergoing self-discovery, each 40 days is a time to align with our purpose, cultivate our inner strength, and prepare for growth. Ask yourself, what are the difficulties that I'm going through now that will strengthen me as I move forward? What clarity, strength, or intention can I gather before stepping fully into the next phase? You can let this stage beat you down or recognize it as a natural cycle that we all go through. Wandering in the wilderness or desert without clarity is what the ancients symbolized for us. They gave us an archetype for the journey of the soul. Section 4. Winter Solstice. The soul's awakening and balance in the depths of the self. Christmas is widely celebrated as the birth of Jesus Christ, with the story of Mary, Joseph, and the newborn Jesus finding shelter in a stable. The story is well known to most in the Western world. But what if we look at it from an esoteric perspective and the hidden knowledge underneath the story? In this context, the nativity story isn't only about Jesus, it also represents the light of the Creator coming into human form, a metaphor for the universal journey of the soul. Beneath this familiar tale lie veiled references to ancient Egyptian teachings, especially the principles of Ma'at, the goddess representing cosmic balance, order, and harmony. The winter solstice, the longest night of the year, symbolizes the soul's deepest descent into the material world. The word solstice itself reveals its essence. From the Latin word sol, meaning sun, and stice, meaning to halt. It marks the period when the sun seems to stand still for 3 days. This phenomenon occurs at the winter solstice and summer solstices, as well as the spring and autumn equinoxes. All natural cycles that ancient cultures linked to the phases of the soul's journey and represented in their myths, which again are personifications of their sacred formulas. To the ancients, the winter solstice symbolized a dark night of the soul, the time when, in the midst of the darkest part of our journey, the first spark of awakening begins to emerge. This stillness echoes the Egyptian principle of Ma'at, which teaches that balance and harmony between earthly life and the divine spark within are essential for spiritual transformation. In Egyptian teachings, the metaphorical stable where Jesus is born represents a state of stabilization or balance where the human, symbolized by the animals, meet and unites with the divine light, represented by the Christ child. Here, the stable isn't just a birthplace. It esoterically symbolizes equilibrium, a merging of animalistic and spiritual forces, much like the balance embodied by Ma'at. The stable state is also referred to as the mount, where spirit and flesh meet in harmony. The manger, where animals gather for sustenance, represents nourishment for the flesh and the soul. The Christ child, as spiritual food, symbolizes wisdom, providing sustenance for the soul as it moves from darkness into light. In the 3 days of stillness from December 22nd to December 25th, the sun reaches the lowest point of the year at noon for 3 straight days, signifying the soul's pause in this balance before it transitions toward renewal and rebirth. In Egyptian tradition, this period marks the beginning of the return of divine light, as it emerges from the underworld of the darkness and the blind in the form of Osiris, the new and consciously evolving Christ. That's KRST, a mirror of the Christ light journeying from darkness into illumination. By December 25th, this light grows stronger, symbolizing the soul's gradual ascent from a lack of awareness toward the realization of its higher self. In this way, the Christian nativity story and the Egyptian principles of Ma'at converge, teaching that balance and spiritual nourishment are essential for the soul's awakening and transformation. As you journey through life, can you remember times of darkness that became a source of enlightenment and wisdom once you came out on the other side? That's the metaphorical meaning for the birth of the Christ. Again, a natural stage in our human journey. Are you in the dark night of the soul? Are you wondering when there will be light? When can you begin to tap into the stillness of your mind and connect with the higher Christ within you? Know that the wisdom of the ages is within your reach. Section 5. Spring Equinox. The soul's rebirth into divine awareness. As the seasons turn and spring begins, we enter a time of profound awakening. The spring equinox marks the soul's re-emergence from the belief of limitations of the physical world. A resurrection, not of the body, but of consciousness. This is a sacred time when the soul reclaims its divine awareness, emerging from the death of not knowing thyself as an empowered spark of God on the earth plane. The soul's re-emergence from the physical world. Many of us grew up professing belief in the resurrection of Jesus, the Son of God, a term that actually represents the human stage of elevated consciousness, regardless of gender. Yet the celebration of resurrection around the spring equinox has roots reaching back into earlier traditions. In the ancient world, the equinox symbolized the rebirth of the sun, marking nature's renewal after the long darkness of winter. For the soul, the spring equinox symbolizes much more than warmer days or longer light, and marks a stage in the journey where the soul reawakens from the long night of material existence, a resurrection of divine memory from the immersion in earthly experiences. Psychologically, it can represent a personal transformation, a death of the old self and a resurrection of the new self with awareness and wisdom. In ancient wisdom, the autumn equinox signaled the soul's sacrifice of divine awareness, a fall into the cycles of the material world where it fully emerged with human instincts and illusions. Yet, with the arrival of spring, the soul rises again, shedding earthly constraints in a resurrection that is not physical but symbolic into the metaphysical world. A reawakening from the illusion of separation and a return to unity with its divine origin. Resurrection, then, is not a one-time miracle, but a universal milestone in every soul's journey, reminding us that each soul has the potential to awaken to its true nature. As we approach spring, consider resurrection not as an event reserved for one, but as a cyclical stage in our own soul's path. A season when you too can rise from the limitations of the material world and reclaim the light of divine awareness within. This reemergence is more than the start of a new cycle. It's the soul's reawakening to consciousness, a reminder that you are more than your earthly roles, more than the routines of daily life. Spring invites us to reconnect with the light within, the part of us that is timeless and boundless. Think of this Easter time resurrection as the soul's innate capacity to emerge from illusions of separation and remember its divine self. A being on a path of transformation, growth, and ultimate reunion with the light. In the same way nature bursts into life, your soul rises to reclaim its awareness, reaching beyond the physical to touch the divine essence within. So this season, ask yourself, what would it mean to truly awaken? How might your life shift if you saw yourself as more than a physical being? A soul emerging from the darkness of forgetting, ready to embrace the light that has always been there. Section 6. Summer Solstice. The height of the soul's divine awareness. The summer solstice, the peak of the sun's journey, symbolizes not only the height of physical light, but also the height of the soul's divine awareness. At this time, the soul reaches the fullest realization of its own divine essence, a pure state of consciousness unclouded by earthly attachments. This is the soul's time of power, when it embraces its full potential as a radiant, self-aware spark of the divine. The lion as a symbol of divine strength and awareness. The summer solstice, when the sun reaches its peak, represents the soul's highest point of awareness and strength. This is symbolized by the Lion of Judah, a title given to Jesus that signifies divine courage, wisdom, and inner power. This lion archetype has deeper roots, often extending into ancient Egypt, where the sun god Ra, often represented with the strength and majesty of a lion, stood as a metaphor for the soul's inner light at its zenith. The sun reaches its highest point at noon. Many of us have heard the term Most High. It's a reference to this aspect of the sun's journey. Across Egyptian temples, twin lions guard the portals of dawn and dusk, embodying the balance of life cycles and the soul's journey through birth, death, and resurrection. These lions, known as Kerufu, represent the dual phases of spiritual awareness, one gazing toward new beginnings, the other watching over endings. In this symbolism, the soul's journey balances dual forces, light and dark, earthly and divine, reminding us that spiritual growth requires us to honor both our strengths and our limitations. In the Bible, the Lion of Judah serves a similar purpose, symbolizing not only physical might, but also spiritual resilience and the awakening of inner strength. To the ancients, the lion was a protector of truth, a reminder that each soul has an indomitable essence capable of transcending earthly limitations. Christ consciousness and the embodiment of divine potential. In ancient Egyptian teachings, the peak of the soul's journey is not about physical dominance, but about attaining Christ consciousness, a state of inner knowing and divine self-awareness. This idea existed thousands of years before Christianity. Christ, a title later associated with the Christos, represents the soul's highest potential, a level of consciousness that embodies wisdom, compassion, and creative power. This is not about gender. Each individual, whether masculine or feminine, can reach this anointed state. It's a realization of unity with the divine, where the soul radiates as a son of God in its fullest potential. In this way, archetypal Jesus as the Lion of Judah embodies Christ's consciousness, representing the soul's realization of divine strength and wisdom. It's an invitation to see beyond earthly identities and connect with the strength, courage, and light that exists within us all. Like Ra, symbolizing the divine spark within each of us, the Lion of Judah calls us to embrace our spiritual essence and rise into the fullness of our own divine nature. As we contemplate the Lion of Judah, we see more than a figure of an external savior. We find a symbol of divine power within each individual. The ancient Egyptians understood this as an inner source of strength that is fully realized only at a higher level of consciousness. Just as the sun reaches its power point of the year at noontime, the summer solstice, the soul too is invited to ascend, to embrace its fullest potential and bask in its own divine radiance. This is the deeper message and natural connection to our humanity to the summer solstice and the Lion of Judah, to recognize ourselves as radiant beings capable of embodying wisdom, compassion, and strength. In this awareness, we honor our own Christ nature, acknowledging our potential to radiate the light and creative power of the divine. Ask yourself, how can you awaken this lion within? How might your life transform if you embrace this strength and live from a place of divine fullness? How might humanity transform when its level of awareness raises beyond the dogma and divisiveness it creates? Section 7. Embracing the journey as an ancient universal map. Our journey began with the soul's descent into the physical world, symbolized by the autumn equinox and Halloween. A conscious choice to leave the realm of spirit and experience life in material form, merging with the instincts of the experiences of human life. At the winter solstice and Christmas, the soul enters a period of inner trials, overcoming fears and nurturing the divine spark within, which slowly awakens to its inner power. With the arrival of the spring equinox and Easter, the soul experiences a resurrection, reawakening to higher consciousness after its immersion in the material world. Finally, at the summer solstice, the fire festival, the soul reaches its peak, fully embodying divine realization and reclaiming its true origin and potential. These cycles form an ancient map, a journey encoded in the stars and seasons, reflecting humanity's universal path of growth, awakening, and fulfillment. In ancient Egypt, these stages of the sun were honored as part of an internal journey toward self-realization, open to everyone. But over time, these universal symbols were transformed, becoming part of a single narrative in Christianity focused on Jesus Christ as an exclusive Savior. This religious change shifted the focus from an inner journey accessible to all towards seeking external validation and salvation, with the church as the intermediary. In doing so, the path to divine empowerment was recast as something distant, a hope held outside of ourselves that was immediately impossible due to our supposed sinful nature. It produced internal conflict that was normalized because so many lived with it. The soul's journey, however, remains a personal path of remembering and returning to our divine origins. The ancient Egyptians and many other cultures saw the soul as a spark of divine light, destined to rediscover its essence through cycles of growth and renewal. Early Christian teachings adopted these symbols but reframed resurrection as an exclusive event, redirecting us again from an inward journey of empowerment to one of witnessing the external Christ. The ancient teachings remind us that the divinity isn't limited to one figure, but is present within all of us. The Christos, or Christ consciousness, symbolizes a state of spiritual awakening that anyone can access. A reminder that the journey of the soul is about realizing your own potential. Embracing this ancient path, we begin to see ourselves as more than witnesses to someone else's light. We're called to become the light ourselves. How can you reclaim this universal map in your own life? You can do so by seeing each experience, every challenge, transformation, and renewal as part of these sacred cycles. You're not observing this journey. You're living it. The soul's journey is your journey, and each season represents a stage in your own spiritual evolution. Imagine seeing yourself as part of this ancient journey. Each phase of growth and every challenge isn't just life happening to you. It's an invitation to remember and reclaim the divine essence within. This is the message the ancients left for us, one that has been buried under centuries of doctrine. You are part of this sacred journey, and each season, every high and low, is a part of your soul's evolution. Will you answer the call to awaken? The ancients invite you to take this journey consciously, to look within. Remember who you truly are and walk the path of your own divine essence. The soul's journey is not about seeking an external savior, but about reconnecting with the radiant light within you. This is the true resurrection, the divine awakening available to us all. Thank you for watching. If this video resonates with you, please consider subscribing to join our community on this journey of rediscovery. Your support helps bring ancient wisdom to light, empowering others to explore these transformative insights. Together, we can inspire a positive shift in the world.